We will get back to satisfactory a little bit later tonight. There we go. All right. Saved on both ends here. Okay. Give me the orbital mechanics video. All right. I will be back momentarily.
When ancient man looked to the heavens for guidance from the gods, he noticed star patterns and began to document their movement across the heavens. The ancients believed that the earth was flat, but around 350 BC, Aristotle proved that the earth was round. Later, about 150 AD, Ptolemy presented the geocentric theory, the belief that the earth is stationary at the center of the universe, with the sun, moon, stars, and planets revolving around it in complex orbits. In the 1500s, Nicholas Copernicus of Poland presented the heliocentric theory, the belief that the Earth revolves around the sun as it rotates on its axis. This aspect of astronomy evolved into an intricate study of planetary motion known as orbital mechanics. Today, orbital mechanics is applied to space flight and satellites that orbit the Earth or travel beyond our solar system. In the early 1600s, Johann Kepler, a German mathematician, using the data on planetary observations collected by the Danish scientist Tycho Brahe, developed 3 laws of planetary motion. Kepler's first law states,
all planets move in elliptical orbits with the Sun at one focus and the other focus empty.
Applied to Earth satellites, the center of the Earth becomes one focus, with the other focus empty. For circular orbits, the 2 foci coincide. Kepler's second law, the law of areas, states,
the line joining the planet to the Sun sweeps over equal areas in equal time intervals.
When a satellite orbits, the line joining it to the Earth sweeps over equal areas in equal periods of time. If areas 1, 2, and 3 are equal, times 1, 2, and 3 are also equal. Therefore, the speed of the satellite changes depending on its distance from the center of the Earth. Speed is greatest at the point in the orbit closest to the Earth, called perigee, and is slowest at the point farthest from the Earth, called apogee. It is important to note that the orbit followed by a satellite is not dependent on its mass. A large, heavy satellite could be in the same orbit with a small, light one, each sweeping out equal areas in equal periods of time. Kepler's third law, the law of periods, relates the time required for a planet to make one complete trip around the Sun to its mean distance from the Sun.
For any planet, the square of its period of revolution is directly proportional to the cube of its mean distance from the Sun.
Applied to Earth satellites, Kepler's third law explains that the farther a satellite is from the Earth, the longer it will take to complete an orbit, the greater the distance it will travel to complete an orbit, and the slower its average speed will be. Isaac Newton, the father of classical mechanics, laid the groundwork for orbital mechanics. He combined the work of Kepler and others to formulate the law of universal gravitation and the three Newtonian laws of motion. While Kepler's laws provided a conceptual model of orbital motion, Newton's laws provided the foundation for the mathematical description of orbits. They explain why a satellite stays in orbit. Newton's law of universal gravitation.
Any two objects in the universe, such as the Earth and the Moon, attract each other with a force directly proportional to the product of their masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them.
Stated more simply, the more massive the objects are, or the closer they are, the greater the gravitational pull between them. Newton's first law of motion.
A body in motion will keep moving at the same speed and in the same direction unless acted upon by an external force.
A satellite moves in a curved path around the Earth because the Earth's gravitational pull acts as an external force on it. Newton's second law of motion.
If the sum of the forces acting on an object is not zero, the object will have an acceleration proportional to the magnitude and in the direction of the net force.
Newton's second law states that force equals mass times acceleration. It is this mathematical equation and the equation for universal gravitation that forms the basis for calculating orbits. Newton's third law of motion explains how a satellite gets into orbit.
For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction.
If you blow up a balloon and let it go, the balloon is pushed forward by the action of the air rushing out of it. A rocket's exhaust gases are like the air rushing out of the balloon. The following illustrates how a satellite stays in orbit. If a man stands on a mountain and fires a projectile horizontally, gravity will cause the path of the projectile to curve downward and it will strike the Earth. However, if the man fires the projectile fast enough at a specific speed, the curvature of its path due to gravity will match the curvature of the Earth under it. The projectile will then fall around the Earth, becoming an Earth-orbiting satellite. A projectile fired even faster will have a flight path away from the Earth, but gravity will act to slow the projectile down, change its flight path, and pull it back toward Earth. If the projectile's velocity increased enough, a velocity sufficient to escape the Earth's gravitational pull will be reached. This velocity is known as the escape velocity. It is equal to about 7 miles per second at the Earth's surface. The preceding description did not consider atmospheric drag and the Earth's rotation, both of which will affect the trajectory of the projectile. It illustrated the principles governing a satellite's orbit. There are 6 numbers called the orbital elements, which specify the size, shape, and orientation of an orbit in space. as well as the location of the spacecraft in the orbit. Based on an orbit which is an ellipse, the 6 orbital elements are length of the semi-major axis, eccentricity, inclination, right ascension of the ascending node, argument of perigee, time of perigee passage. The major axis of an elliptical orbit is the line joining the perigee and apogee. This line is also referred to as the line of apsides. The first orbital element is the semi-major axis. It is simply 1/2 the major axis. Circular orbits have no apogee or perigee. Therefore, the semi-major axis is simply 1/2 the diameter of the orbit. The semi-major axis is used to define the size of the orbit. From this, the orbital period, or time that it takes for the satellite to complete one orbit, can be calculated. The shape of an orbit is defined by the second orbital element called eccentricity. For all ellipses, the value of eccentricity lies between 0 and 1. The larger the value, the more elliptical the orbit. A spacecraft in Earth orbit with an eccentricity equal to or greater than 1 will escape the Earth's gravitational field. When orienting an orbit in space, a 3-dimensional coordinate system must be defined. The coordinate system commonly used is the geocentric equatorial coordinate system, which has its origin at the Earth's center. This coordinate system is a non-rotating reference system in which a satellite's orbital plane tends to remain fixed relative to the stars while the Earth turns beneath it. The XY plane is the Earth's equatorial plane. The positive x-axis points to the vernal equinox. This is the point where the sun appears to cross the Earth's equator on its way north on the first day of spring each year. The z-axis is along the Earth's spin axis toward the North Pole. Nodes are points in a satellite's orbit which intersect the Earth's equatorial plane. The ascending node is the point at which the spacecraft crosses the equator going from south to north. The descending node is where the spacecraft crosses the equator going from north to south. The line joining the two nodes is called the line of nodes. The orientation of an orbit is determined by 3 orbital element angles. The right ascension of the ascending node is the angle between the x-axis and the ascending node. It is always measured eastward from the direction away from the vernal equinox in the Earth's equatorial plane. The argument of perigee is the angle between the ascending node and the point of perigee. It is measured in the orbital plane in the direction of spacecraft motion. Inclination is the angle between the equatorial plane and the orbital plane. A satellite which has an eastward velocity component at the ascending node has an orbital inclination lying between 0 and 90 degrees. Such an orbit is called a prograde orbit. A satellite which moves due north at the ascending node is in a polar orbit. Polar orbits have an orbital inclination of exactly 90 degrees. A satellite with a westward velocity component at the ascending node is in a retrograde orbit and has an orbital inclination between 90 and 180 degrees. The 5 orbital elements explained thus far describe the size, shape, and orientation of the orbit in space. The final element is a time value used to locate the satellite in its orbit. A satellite moves in a very predictable manner. It stays on schedule. Thus, if the time at which a satellite passes a particular point is known, the time when it will pass any other point can be determined. The particular point chosen is perigee, and the time of perigee passage is the last of the 6 orbital elements. The 6 orbital elements depict a spacecraft's orbit in non-rotating coordinates. To visualize an orbit relative to the rotating Earth, a projection traces the spacecraft's position on the Earth's surface. The projected path is called the ground track. As a satellite orbits the Earth, the ground track shifts westward. There are 2 causes for this. First, the primary contributor is the Earth's rotation toward the east under the orbital plane. Second, because the Earth is not a uniform sphere and bulges at the equator, its gravity is greatest at the equator. This causes the orbital plane to rotate slowly around the Earth's polar axis in a motion called precession. Precession is toward the west for prograde orbits and toward the east for retrograde orbits. For low Earth orbits, such as those of the Space Shuttle at 150 miles altitude, the westward shift of the ground track due to the Earth's rotation is about 22.5 degrees, while the shift due to precession is only about a half degree. The inclination of a satellite orbit determines the north and south latitude limits of its ground track. The minimum orbital inclination is equal to the latitude of the launch site and is achieved by launching due east. For example, if a satellite is launched due east out of the Kennedy Space Center, which is located at 28.5 degrees north latitude, its orbital inclination will be 28.5 degrees, and the limits of its ground track will vary between 28.5 degrees north latitude and 28.5 degrees south latitude. If launch azimuth or direction of flight at launch, measured eastward from due north, is increased from due east, the orbital inclination angle increases as well as the maximum latitude of the north-south ground track. Therefore, the latitude limits of the ground track equal the new launch inclination. Similarly, if launch azimuth is decreased from due east, orbital inclination once again increases as well as the latitude limits of the ground track. The maximum practical inclination from a Kennedy Space Center launch is 57 degrees. This limit is imposed for safety considerations in order to keep the spacecraft and its booster system from flying over land masses during the ascent phase. To obtain an orbit with an inclination greater than 57 degrees, the spacecraft is launched from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. Vandenberg offers the opportunity for southerly launches with orbit inclinations between approximately 70 degrees prograde through 138 degrees retrograde. A significant advantage of launching from Vandenberg is the capability to economically achieve polar orbits with ground tracks covering all latitudes, from the North Pole to the South Pole. The Earth is constantly turning, and all points on its surface have an eastward velocity, with the greatest velocity occurring at the equator. The farther the launch site is from the equator, or as launch azimuth is increased or decreased from due east, less of the Earth's rotational velocity will be imparted to the launch vehicle. This requires more fuel to get into orbit, or payload weight will have to be decreased. Launches due east from a position on or near the equator, such as the Kourou launch site in French Guiana, used by the European Space Agency, acquire the advantage of a free velocity gain of about 1,500 feet per second. This compares to the approximate 1,300 feet per second gain available at the further north latitude of the Kennedy Space Center. Launching from an equatorial site offers a significant advantage in payload weight capability and minimizes the amount of fuel needed to achieve an equatorial orbit. Since many satellites operate in equatorial orbits, these are important considerations. Spacecraft are launched within a specified time interval called the launch window. Some of the factors affecting the launch window are launch and orbit lighting conditions, sun angles, payload orbit requirements, rendezvous phasing if a rendezvous is planned, tracking and communication requirements, and collision avoidance with other orbiting objects, to name a few. One of the factors defining the launch window for the space shuttle is launch lighting conditions, which can be illustrated by plotting time versus day of year. On this plot, we see daylight and darkness at the launch site. The longer daylight hours occur in the middle of the year, summertime. If daylight conditions are required for a convenient emergency landing site for the space shuttle, the launch window would now look like this. During the winter months, the available launch window for lighting conditions alone can be as little as 3 hours per day. When combined with the many other launch factors, the launch window becomes even more constrained. The choice of a particular launch vehicle for a mission depends upon the weight and size of the payload and the desired orbit. Expendable rockets used to place spacecraft in orbit usually consist of several stages that may incorporate both solid and liquid propellants for propulsion. When the fuel in each stage is depleted, the spent stage is jettisoned. Staging offers the advantage of discarding weight when it is no longer needed. The space shuttle is a two-stage system. At liftoff, the 2 solid rocket boosters and 3 space shuttle main engines are all producing thrust. After approximately 2 minutes of flight, at an altitude of 25 miles, the fuel in the solid rocket boosters is depleted and they are jettisoned. The 3 main engines, fueled by liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen carried in the external tank, continue to burn for several minutes until the shuttle reaches its cutoff velocity. At this time, the main engines are shut down and the external tank is jettisoned. 2 additional burns using the orbiter's maneuvering system referred to as ohms are required to place the orbiter in its final orbit. The ohms 1 burn occurs about 2 minutes after main engine shutdown and establishes the orbital apogee point. The ohms 2 burn takes place approximately 30 minutes later and circularizes the orbit. Once satellites are launched and put into orbit, it is often necessary to change the orbit with an on-orbit burn. The common term used in describing on-orbit burns or engine firings is delta V. Delta V is the incremental change in spacecraft velocity measured in feet per second resulting from the burn. The amount of fuel used during a burn depends on the desired delta V change and the mass of the spacecraft. Because the amount of fuel carried is limited, fuel consumption is one of the primary considerations in spacecraft mission planning and is critical to orbit lifetime. On orbit, a spacecraft can thrust in any direction. Burns along the flight path, forward and backward, are the most common. A unique feature of any orbital burn is that if no other burns occur, the spacecraft will later always pass again through the point of burn. Forward burns increase the spacecraft's velocity and are known as posigrade burns. With posigrade burns, the flight path of the vehicle will be raised at all points except the burn point. Burns opposite the direction of flight, which slow the spacecraft down, are called retrograde burns. For retrograde burns, the orbit will be lowered at all points except the burn point. The greater the delta V, the greater the difference between the pre-burn and post-burn orbits. Burns can be combined into maneuver sequences to change orbit size, shape, or orientation. One of the most common maneuver sequences is made up of two burns and is used to accomplish an orbit transfer between two circular orbits in the same orbital plane. The most energy-efficient transfer between two orbits of this type is the Hohmann transfer. The Hohmann transfer is actually 1/2 of an elliptical orbit with its perigee in one of the orbits and its apogee in the other. The burns occur at the perigee and apogee of the transfer orbit. The use of the Hohmann transfer minimizes the delta V required, thus having the advantage of using minimum fuel. The disadvantage of the Hohmann transfer is that it takes longer than most other transfers. The type of the transfer sequence depends on the mission and the amount of fuel available. For example, a space rescue where time is critical might use a fast transfer, while a routine satellite deployment, where fuel saved for later use is important, would most likely use a Hohmann transfer. The burns discussed so far have all been maneuvers in the original orbital plane and do not affect orbit inclination or node position. There are situations which require an orbital plane change, such as setting up a rendezvous or placing a satellite in an equatorial orbit. To change the inclination, the thrust vector must be directed at an angle to the orbital plane. A thrust with a component that is perpendicular to the orbital plane at either the ascending or descending node will rotate the orbital plane about the line of nodes. A northerly out-of-plane thrust at the ascending node will increase the inclination of a prograde orbit, while a southerly thrust will decrease it. Out-of-plane thrusts require considerable amounts of fuel and are performed only when absolutely required. The Space Shuttle, for example, using all of its onboard propellant, is capable of an on-orbit plane change of less than 3 degrees. Satellite orbital planes and altitudes are determined by their design mission, which very often includes a field of view requirement for optical or communications purposes. The field of view of a satellite is defined as the area of the Earth's surface that is in view from the satellite at any given time. Satellites in high orbits have greater fields of view than those in lower orbits. For example, a satellite at an altitude of 800 nautical miles has a circular field of view with a diameter of about 4,100 nautical miles. A satellite at 200 nautical miles has a circular field of view with a diameter of about 2,000 nautical miles. Low-orbit satellites are often used for photography and other types of Earth observation. A satellite placed in a low-inclination circular orbit at an altitude of about 19,300 nautical miles will have an angular velocity exactly equal to that of the Earth's. The satellite would seem to remain stationary in longitude as viewed from the ground. Such orbits are called geosynchronous and are used to provide a continuous communications capability among any system of ground stations within their field of view. The geosynchronous orbit field of view is constant and is limited to a latitude zone of about 70 degrees north and south of the equator. Effective satellite communications from geosynchronous orbit is not possible at either pole. However, because of their altitude, their field of view covers nearly half the globe. A special type of geosynchronous orbit with an inclination of 0 degrees is called a geostationary orbit. It appears to hover over a fixed point on the Earth's surface at the equator. Most U.S. communication satellites are in geosynchronous orbits, providing near worldwide communications coverage. For effective communications at high latitudes, the Molniya orbit is used. Molniya is the Russian word for lightning and is an orbit used extensively by the Soviet Union for its communication satellites. The Molniya orbit is highly eccentric with an apogee that is near the geosynchronous altitude and an inclination of about 63 degrees. The satellite slows down at apogee in the northern hemisphere and whips through perigee in the southern hemisphere. This provides communications in the northern hemisphere for up to 75% of its orbital period. Several satellites properly spaced in Molniya orbits can provide constant communications at the northern latitudes. Navigation satellites, such as the U.S. Navy's Transit System and the Joint Service Navstar GPS Global Positioning System, use lower orbits so that a user can receive signals from more than one satellite at any time. Another frequently used orbit is known as a sun-synchronous orbit. These take advantage of the precession of the orbital plane caused by the Earth not being a perfect sphere. All sun-synchronous orbits are highly inclined retrograde orbits which precess eastward around the Earth's polar axis at the rate of 1 revolution per year. Since the Earth-Sun line also revolves eastward at the rate of 1 revolution per year, the orbital plane will maintain a constant orientation relative to the Earth-Sun line. If the satellite's period is then synchronized with the rotation of the Earth, it will pass over the same point on the Earth's surface at the same local time at a regular interval. A sun-synchronous satellite ensures that a constant sun angle and uniform lighting exist for the same field of view from pass to pass. Satellites such as those in the Defense Meteorological Satellite Program and Landsat are sun-synchronous, imaging the entire Earth on a regular schedule. The gravitational attraction of the Earth on a spacecraft causes it to move in its orbit around the Earth. There are other, much smaller forces which will cause a spacecraft to deviate from its desired orbit. These forces cause what are known as orbital perturbations. Orbital precession, which is used to obtain sun-synchronous orbits, results from the perturbing effects of the Earth's non-spherical shape. Other perturbing forces are the gravitational pull of the Sun, the Moon, and planets, and solar winds, which are charged streams of protons and electrons that heat the Earth's atmosphere and increase atmospheric drag. In most cases, perturbing forces can be compensated for in the spacecraft and orbit design and present no major problems. If the forces disturb the orbit too much, thrusters can be fired to re-establish its desired orbital orientation or altitude. This is particularly true for spacecraft orbiting at very low altitudes, where the effects of atmospheric drag are greater and, if not compensated for, will eventually cause the spacecraft to deorbit. A spacecraft's operational lifetime is frequently limited only by the amount of fuel available to maintain its desired orbit. When its useful life is complete, a satellite is left in orbit or is deorbited, burning up when re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. When the space shuttle completes its orbital mission, it executes a precise retrograde burn to initiate its controlled return to Earth. This burn occurs nearly halfway around the Earth from the landing site. The new orbit established by the retrograde burn causes the orbiter to enter the Earth's atmosphere about 4,000 miles from the landing site. During the period the orbiter descends from its orbital altitude to atmospheric re-entry, its attitude is maintained by the use of reaction control jets located in the nose and tail of the orbiter. Once the orbiter enters the Earth's atmosphere, its wing and tail aerosurfaces begin to become effective and gradually replace the jets for attitude control. As the orbiter nears the landing field, it maneuvers to a long, straight-in approach at an angle of 17 to 19 degrees. Nearing the runway, it executes a flare maneuver to reduce its sink rate and glides to a touchdown at approximately 230 miles per hour. As the orbiter rolls to a stop, our journey into the world of orbital mechanics comes to an end for now. This is only the basics of orbital mechanics, an intricate study of planetary and satellite motion. The next time you see a launch, you will see it from a different, somewhat knowledgeable perspective. You will understand the fundamentals of spaceflight.
Okay. You learned something? Dude, I learn something every time I watch that video, and I've watched that video a lot of times. I'm not even kidding, like, 'cause sometimes, like, yeah, it's just, I don't know, you hear it again, and you hear it again, you hear it again, you're always gonna get something new. Or, you know, it's just because every time I've watched it with chat, and I'm bouncing back and forth. It's probably that. That might have something to do with it. All right, so I thought there wouldn't be enough, but there's actually a good amount of space news today. The authorization bill is something that I want to look into. That's kind of a big deal. I have all the links for all the Forerunner architecture, which is cool. All right, got that. Okay, so, guys, here, I'm gonna switch to this camera, and you're not going to see me. I am in the dark because I have all the lights shut off. My face is not doing too well, so I am in the dark. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to be with you again. It's not even October yet, EJ. No, yeah, we're just gonna shut that for a little while. An ellipse primer in Euler's review is a great parallel bit. Yeah, so here, we'll put, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna put fake EJ up there for a little while. So, yeah, we'll make sure we got fake EJ here. There we go. Oh, guys, I'm just nursing a little bit of a migraine, but it's getting better. It's not like I have to stop migraine like I had the other day. This one is manageable. I went down, drank a lot of water. I'm pretty sure I'm just dehydrated. I went and drank a lot of water. I had another cup of coffee. Yeah, we're good. So you just enjoy. Look at that EJ. Look at how happy that guy is. It's spoopy season. It doesn't matter how you look. Stay hydrated, fool. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you. Lack of dark mode will be painful. Oh, don't worry. We got dark mode back. All right. So I think we should go through everything here that's not let's go through everything here that's not the House Appropriations Bill. Give me 1 second here. Thursday is an H2 and Crew 9. We could start there if you want. We probably don't. Crew 9 probably won't be flying. It won't be flying on Thursday. It's pushed to Saturday. Let me see if I can find the reason. Yeah, here. It's Brondo. It's got what migraines crave. That's better. Yeah, it is moved to Saturday. It is because of, well, it's because of that. See that right there? Yeah. I know Florida's over here, but yeah, they're worried about that. So they're just gonna let that one pass here. And yeah, that should happen on. Oh, sure, blame the weather. Yes, yes, we will. What harm could that do? It's just it's an angry rainstorm. So yeah, that thing has the potential to, like, I guess, take a right and go back towards Florida. So yeah, they're moving it another day, or a couple of days. So Saturday is what I've been hearing for Crew 9. So that does leave IGS Radar 8. Oh, I thought it launched when oh. IGS Radar 8, Thursday, September 26th at 1:24 a.m. Okay. Any updates on Dream Chaser? No, not much. Dream Chaser is it's down at the Cape with the Shooting Star, and they're just doing final integration. I think so here's the thing. Norris, the Dream Chaser was supposed to launch on Vulcan Cert 2. Vulcan Cert 2 is stacked right now. Like, they made that change a long time ago. But believe it or not, it wasn't ready for Vulcan Cert 2. It's close, but it's not exact. So I bet you the next Vulcan flight will probably be that Dream Chaser flight. And yeah, we'll go from there. Shooting Star was doing acoustic tests. If you knew that, why did you ask me? Wait a minute. Yeah, I saw that. I saw them doing that. It's... What's flying on Cert 2? I think it's a mass simulator, Pigzig, I'm pretty sure. Tropical Storm Watch just went into the cave at 5 p.m. Maybe you heard something more. No. Nope. I remember looking at Dream Chaser yesterday and seeing the Shooting Star surrounded by bass speakers. Hold on. You guys want to see some stacks here? This is what Norris is talking about. Let me show you. Look at these. Look at these stacks. Oh, yeah. These speakers be like,
DJ streaming late at night, building up with all his might. He's on under desert light.
what's all that? They're speakers.
Pakistan in sight. Sand beneath construction signs. Workers forging all refined.
No, I'm serious. Those are speakers. They're all speakers.
It's his world, he's on a climb.
Okay. This is doing acoustic testing. That's what Norris was talking about in chat. Yeah. Acoustic testing is where they shoot sound at it. They play sound, and it induces vibration on it, and they make sure that nothing falls off, basically. I mean, that's the gist of it. That's the gist of what's going on there. When does that rave happen? Oh, soon. Well, that was actually on the 4th, so that was 20 days ago. That was almost 3 weeks. I haven't heard anything new other than that. Yeah. They play the brown note at the payload. I mean, more or less, yeah. Okay, let's keep going here. All right, so here, let's check this one out. What do we got here? Thanks for the info. I mean, you gave me more info than I gave you, Norris, to be honest with you. So thank you for the info. All right. Last week at NASA Marshall, work began on the qualification article panels for the SLS payload adapter set to debut during Artemis 4. The panels are made of a metallic honeycomb structure at their thickest point, tapering down to a lightweight carbon fiber layer at each end. Payload adapter, huh? Cool. Look at that thing. That thing's pretty sweet. Yeah, that looks a lot like that spool that we saw for Electron. And it has a, look at that. That's a concave mandrel, which is, I mean, I'm not even sure that that's the right name for that thing. But yeah, there we go. It's just spinning its web. It's a giant loom. It really is. That's what it is, man. Yeah. It looks to be on the end of a robotic arm right there. You see that? That looks to be just kind of a regular automotive industrial arm, though. But it's also like it's on a shuttle that goes back and forth. You see that? That's pretty rad. Dude, look at that thing. That thing's ridiculous. Hey, Glasses EJ is back. Yep. Guys, I have a disgusting... It's not a disgusting migraine. It's actually not the worst one I've ever had, but I'm sitting here in the dark. I'm sitting here in the dark. I'm going to see if... I've never done this before during Space News. I usually, yeah, like I said, usually power through it or shut the stream off, but I'm going to try this. We'll see if this works. We'll see if no... like I said, I am just in a dark room. If you're really, really curious, like, hey, how you doing? I'm just seeing if this actually does something. It actually is not too bad. This is pretty good. Shadowy EJ. Watch. You know what's cool? Ready? That's actually super cool. What's behind you? Nothing. So, yeah. Not gonna not have fun with it, you know. Cold is the void. Anyway, that's the payload adapter that would be, this thing right here that we were looking at is the payload adapter that will be going on top of the EUS. The payload adapter is to carry what's inside of the universal stage adapter. This thing. There's the universal stage adapter right there, which is actually super cool. And the Orion would be up here, right? That's a test article, really good one, really good picture. And this would be on top of the exploration upper stage. Yeah, there's a lot of space in there. Yeah, the payload adapter would be right in there. See that thing? What you saw them make is one of those segments. See that? They saw them make one of those in this picture. That's what they're making. See, they're winding her up right there, and they're making that piece right there. One of I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 maybe? One of 10? Not sure why your PAF... actually, I was about to say, not sure why your PAF needs to be carbon fiber, but most PAFs are carbon fiber, but not at that scale. But, yeah, still pretty rad. If we can ever get 1B, you know, to work, that'd be useful. Anyway, I mean, slow progress with SLS as per usual, but still progress nonetheless. Okay, so... So check this out. Here we go. This is coming from Firefly Aerospace. At Firefly, we take vertical integration to another level. Oh, look, there's another one. Our automated fiber placement AFP machine not only supports Alpha and MLV, it's also building carbon composite structures for our spacecraft, including our first Elytra Dark development structure for Blue Ghost Mission 2 to the far side of the moon. Elytra Dark will serve as the transfer vehicle for our Blue Ghost lunar lander and serve as a communication relay for 5+ years on orbit. Yep, see, that thing's doing the same thing. It's wrapping that thing around the mandrel. Let's take a look. Blue Ghost 2. Firefly Lander. This white screen is really, really not helping me. Thank you, God. We're going back to the moon. Firefly was awarded a second task order as part of NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Services Program, or Commercial Lunar Payload Services Initiative. This time, we're delivering payloads to lunar orbit and the far side of the moon utilizing a two-stage vehicle configuration, including Firefly's Blue Ghost lunar lander stacked on an Elytra Dark orbital vehicle. With payloads from NASA, the ESA, and Australia, the Australian Research Space Exploration Agency, or ARS. That's not what they're called, but that's what they should be called. This international mission offers additional customer opportunities for lander surface delivery and orbital services in support of growing lunar infrastructure. Cool. Sweet. That's pretty rad, man. Good stuff. I think this Jeff Faust thing is talking about the same stuff. At Payload's Space Capital Forum this afternoon, Jana Spruce, of Firefly Aerospace said the company is planning to launch its Blue Ghost 1 lunar lander before the end of the... Whoa. Wait. Are you running a blue light filter? Maybe that helps. Oh, dark mode is working just fine for me, dude. At the Payload Space Capital Forum this afternoon, Jana Spruce of Firefly Aerospace said the company is still planning to launch its Blue Ghost lunar lander before the end of the year. Okay. Interesting. Huh. In the same panel, Steve Clark of Astrobotics said the company is in talks with potential customers interested in flying beneficial payloads on their Griffin Mission 1, which was to carry Viper. Hoping to get these customers lined up very soon to launch at the end of 2025. If you guys could see me, I bet you can guess what kind of face I'm making. It's kind of more, you know, when Zorg is in Fifth Element, where he's very disappointed. I am disappointed. And if it's one thing I do not like to be, it is to be disappointed. Oh, you guys want to see an interesting postscript to this? Look. So Homer Hickham's going off on X, and I think it's pretty funny. So why space buffs wonder why NASA is always begging for more money. So NASA is doing an art program. I'm excited to share a significant milestone in the reestablishment of NASA's art program. Why do you sound like you speak through a robot pipe? I don't know, Yannick. It doesn't post in the playback. I'm about to have an art attack. Okay, HD. I got it. Give me 1 second. I'm excited to share a significant milestone in the establishment of NASA's art program. Since the beginning, NASA has used the power of art to communicate the extraordinary aspects of our missions in a way that connects uniquely with humanity. Our original art program, started in 1962 under the direction of Administrator James Webb, included a diverse collection of works from artists with varying styles, such as the abstract Robert Rauschenberg and figurative Norman Rockwell. Some of the agency's most notable pieces are included in a digital gallery available on Flickr. Today I'm thrilled to unveil the next chapter of this program, led by NASA's Office of Communications. Our first murals for the art program will debut in New York City thanks to a collaboration with Hudson Square Business Improvement District. This exciting new phase involves the creation of 2 captivating murals by talented New York-based artists Jira Liz and Work. Located at 350 Hudson Street, these murals envision a cosmic future through the lens of children's dreams inspired by the Artemis program and the embodiment of the spirit of exploration and discovery. They'll serve as vibrant, enduring installations in the heart of Manhattan designed to engage the community and inspire visitors with the wonder of space exploration. Looking ahead, we have more mural projects planned for 2025, including a NASA presence at the DC Walls Festival and in additional collaborations in New York and Pennsylvania. We also aim for 2 NASA centers to lead mural projects in their geographic regions. Through these artistic endeavors, we hope to meet people where they are and connect with diverse audiences to inspire a new generation. You guys know why the art program was established at NASA. They did the art program at NASA to paint like murals inside of the NASA design centers. So the engineers would walk in and see this sweet mural of like people walking on the moon, for instance. That's why they did that. Yeah, that's why they did that. And they I think Homer might be onto something here, to be honest with you. And who are these people who are why? How about a rocket launching on the big screen in Times Square? That would probably do more than a freaking mural. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. This is stupid. This is dumb. Get rid of this. Look, on any other day, I'd be totally cool with this. But the reason why I chose to bring this up after the whole Viper thing that we just heard about, right? Like, Astrobotics looking for people to launch on their lander because NASA would rather send a brick of metal than a rover because it's cheaper. That is not an exaggeration. That is not hyperbole. That is exactly what's going down. But we got to draw a stupid big mural at 350 Hudson Street in New York. That's great. And then we got more. Look. All right. Look. Murals are all fine and dandy. You really want to know how to inspire the next generation? You should go to the freaking moon. That's how you inspire the next generation. That would be a good idea. We should do that. Oh, wait, or maybe send stuff to the moon? Art is very important to innovation. Yeah, but if you're worried about funding overlap, Gamatron, as a space program, operative words there. If you're worried about funding as a space program, do you cut the murals that people draw on the walls in Manhattan, or do you cut the actual space program? Use Viper to draw on the moon with a robotic arm. Now that's a solution I can get behind, Andrew. Yeah, that's I agree with Homer here. That's stupid. Just who are these people in New York City Hudson Square properties that NASA is providing art for their building, and why are they getting it? I'm not sure how much NASA is paying these street artists, but whatever it is, it's too much. I doubt young people, the very few who'll see it, are going to be encouraged by it to take up calculus. Owned. Yeah, I agree with him. I agree. That money is earmarked for STEM education, so not like they can use that money elsewhere. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, all right, cool, sweet. That's good. Here is some good news. Check this out. This is coming from Boca Chica Gal. It's coming from Mary over at NASA Spaceflight. Take a look. I think we're starting to see parts of the mobile launcher Pad B thing, and let me tell you, those are some thick boy parts. Thick digital. Seriously, that's like, I mean, look at it next to the chain link. That's got to be 2-inch thick plating easily. So 2 inches thick would be about 50 mil. 50, 60 millimeter. That's thick. That's very thick steel. Triple axle flatbed. All right, let's go. Let's go, dude. It could maybe hold up your mom. No, maybe it could hold up your mom. Dudes. Wait. Hold up. Shut up. You remember how I said the launch mount will be trapezoidal? You guys remember how I said that? Because the diameter of the flame trench? Remember how I said the launch mount will look like this? You know, because the hole for Super Heavy is right here, and then the pegs need to be on the... No. The pegs need to be right here, and then the SPMTs need to be right here. Because the big frame trench, that's 18 meters. You remember that? Yeah. Oh, that's weird. Oh, that's weird. Huh. Oh, that's strange. Gee. I wonder why that's like that. Huh. That's bizarre. Is the camera off? Yes. I have a headache. Northern Sky. I'm trying to do I'm doing my best here, buddy. That's right. Circle goes into the trapezoid. Hey, where does the square peg go? That's right. It goes in the square hole. Yep. Where does the round peg go? That's right. It goes in the square hole. Hey, where does the triangle go? That's right. It goes in the square hole. What about this arch thing? Can you tell me where the arch thing goes? That's right. It goes in the square hole. That's right, it goes in the square hole. So look, the thickest plate seems to be facing this way. So that tells me that the rocket is going to be right here. See what I'm talking about, man? It's got a... it's trapezoidal. Like, that's a dead giveaway. Look at this thing. I mean, look at this thing. But it seems to only be trapezoidal on the ends. Interestingly enough, that looks straight to me. And the other one down at the other end looks trapezoidal. Again. See what I mean? They got to have places for the launch pegs to go, which is super interesting. Yeah, and I would guess the thickest piece of metal is probably going to be towards the rocket. Oh, those are for laying welds. That's right. Yeah, check it out, dude. They're cornered. See how they're cornered off? That's for welding. Yep. That's a good eye, Goss. See right there? See how it's pointed? That's because it's going to be joined with another piece. That's definitely another OLM. Well, yeah, of course. We never thought it wouldn't be. But see, I said that it would need to be trapezoidal because of the diameter of the flame trench that... Well, not diameter. The width of the flame trench that they're using. Their pegs are 12 meters apart, and they have an 18-meter flame trench, which is... interesting. If you're going to do something like that, you're going to need to oh god, my head. If you're going to do something like that, you're going to need to make a wider launcher platform that an SPMT can get underneath it and ride on both sides. It ends up being octagonal. Judging by the planes on those things, it doesn't look like it's going to be octagonal, guys. It looks like it's going to square. But who knows? That's still super cool. I didn't notice that when I looked at this the other day. Actually, I can't tell if this beam is coming towards us or if it's going up. Huh. Do the pegs have a rubber foot? It's important. Oh yeah. Is it coming towards us? So, wait a minute. Wait. Is that one coming towards us too? I don't know. Oh, there's some nutty optical illusions. They're both of them are. Because this is a flat plate, right? Like, interesting. Definitely an angle. Look at the trailer deck. Yep, dead giveaway. Yeah, interesting. That's right, it goes in the square hole. You can do the math right now, measure that out. You know the dimensions of a trailer, how wide one is. So take that and start putting those pieces in a circle on at various angles. Thanks for pretty much confirming that it's a hexagon, goalie. We appreciate it. Yeah, Norath, we'll see what happens with that with Viper. Super cool. All right, that's awesome. Really good stuff. And once again, okay, so HD, you said in chat that SpaceX had a tweetermajig. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh no, this is gonna get bad. All right. Let's dig in. You guys want to try some of this poop flavored sandwich? SpaceX posted this. FAA Administrator Whitaker made several incorrect statements today regarding SpaceX. In fact, every statement he made was incorrect. It's deeply concerning that the administrator does not appear to have accurate information immediately available to him with respect to SpaceX licensing matters. All right. Let's go. Why can we your face? I don't know why you can't my face. Why can we see your face, see not? Do or do not? There is no try. Space news we are having. Why can't we not see your face? Headache I have. In dark room. Don't want to stare at lights. Yeah, you can't see my face. It's right there. Need to cut out the mouth and move it like Canadians. Oh, yeah, we got to move it like the Canadians in South Park. No, the Canadian government has apologized for Brian Adams on several occasions. No, Liam, I have a pretty gnarly headache, dude. I'm trying the whole, be in a dark room for a little bit and see if that fixes anything. It's getting better. I'm okay. The lights in my eyes today are just killing me. It's just like, bleh, bleh, bleh. But I'm here. It's just, here, enjoy this cardboard cutout of me. Yay, look at how happy he is. Get a fresh cup of coffee. I did that during break, creation. Oh, yes, you do. That one's better. I'm okay with your picture, whatever makes you feel better. Thank you. All right, let's get spicy. Let's see. SpaceX, September 24th, 2024. The Honorable Kevin Kiley, U.S. House of Representatives, Herpaderp, Washington, D.C. Dear Congressman. All right, give me 1 second. Send me the cardboard cutout. Okay. You're gonna do what I think you're gonna do, aren't you? There you go. Don't do anything stupid with that. Or something. You hear a plane. Oh, that's the robotic noise you guys are hearing. I have the fan on to try and get the air moving in here. That's all. All right. Anyway. Why do I sound like I'm talking to a robot? Yeah, I have the fan on. Here, I can turn it off. It should be okay. There we go. I turned it down. Let's see what happens. Okay. SpaceX writes to thank you for taking the opportunity to seek answers from the FAA Administrator Mike Whitaker on the FAA's licensing challenges. Licensing challenges relating to commercial space launch and reentry during his appearance before Congress today on unrelated matters. In responding to your questions, Administrator Whitaker made several incorrect statements today regarding SpaceX. In fact, every statement he made was incorrect. Uh-oh. First, SpaceX was fully licensed to conduct these Falcon launches, and the FAA has not alleged otherwise. With respect to Starship, neither of the two items he referenced, including the sonic boom, are related to public safety, but to environmental considerations that he'd been previously evaluated as posing no risk to the environment. Additionally, his assertion that SpaceX violated state law is simply wrong. SpaceX did not violate state law. SpaceX had a permit for deluge operations from the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, TCEQ. It is deeply concerning that the administrator does not appear to have accurate information immediately available to him with respect to SpaceX licensing matters. SpaceX has issued a letter on these matters previously, here and here. Okay? Signed here, initial here, here, and here. Advil, Mitor, get to the helicopter. They've dicked with the wrong dictator. Sorry, there's no point. If you're listening on audio only, there's no point that SpaceX said what I just said a second ago. Anyway, SpaceX rejects. Oh, wait, this is in bold. Hold on. SpaceX rejects any allegations from the FAA that SpaceX violated any laws. Okay, that was in bold, so you had to say it like that. SpaceX is the safest, most reliable launch provider in the world and is absolutely committed to safety in all operations. Quick facts. It's bold and underscored. All right, what do you want? Fact number 1. Administrator Whitaker alleged that SpaceX launched without a permit. This is false. SpaceX was fully licensed to launch Falcon missions for which the FAA has incorrectly alleged non-compliances. The FAA has alleged SpaceX was not permitted or not licensed to launch these missions. SpaceX receives FAA licensing for all missions subject to the Commercial Space Launch Act. 2. Administrator Whitaker alleged that SpaceX moved a fuel farm closer to the population and that SpaceX did not perform a risk analysis. SpaceX moved the fuel farm to a location that is more than twice the distance from the nearest publicly accessible area and provided the FAA with the required analysis. Prior to the launch, federal range safety authorities approved the new location of the fuel farm, and the FAA was on console and did not stop the countdown. Boom. Pat, yeah, there were some things I forgot about, and SpaceX ended up writing another spicy letter about the FAA. So yeah, we're in. We're in. No cam, Megamind? FAA took months to review and approve the revised location and ultimately required no changes to the previously approved federal range configuration. Owned. Does this government doc not confirm they failed to get authorization about my baby? I don't know. Let me finish the article, Sam. Point number 3. Administrator Whitaker stated that SpaceX failed to provide an updated sonic boom analysis that it was safely... Okay, let me reread that. Administrator Whitaker said that SpaceX, quote-unquote, or quote, failed to provide an updated sonic boom analysis, quote, that it was, quote, safety-related incident, quote, and the FAA had to enter into a 2-month consultation with Fish and Wildlife. This has nothing to do with safety. Fish and Wildlife Services already reviewed Starship sonic booms and determined them to have no environmental impacts for boosters under 1 PSF. Subsection 3A. SpaceX recently provided FAA data showing a significantly larger sonic boom area. Despite the slightly larger area, there is no new environmental impact. Nevertheless, the FAA entered a new environmental consultation with Fish and Wildlife Services, which could result in a 2-month delay. This is a paperwork exercise that could be swiftly addressed between agencies as a minor paperwork update. Four. Administrator Whitaker alleged that SpaceX did not have a permit for its deluge system, and this delayed FAA licensing. At no time did SpaceX operate its deluge system without a permit. SpaceX was operating under a permit from the TCEQ. TCEQ staff were physically present during the operation of the deluge. The Federal Aviation Administration and the Fish and Wildlife Services have evaluated the use of the deluge and determined no environmental risk. At the EPA's request, SpaceX is seeking a different type of permit to cover these operations. The FAA, TCEQ, and EPA have confirmed that the deluge operations may continue in the interim, and operation of the system will not change under this new permit. Respectfully, signature, Matt Dunn, Senior Director, Global Governmental Affairs. Interesting. Migraine, too much gaming, not enough space news. Oh, Pat, give me a break. Guys, yeah, this kind of speaks to what we were talking about a little bit earlier. What we were saying, what we said the last time this topic came up, so the last angry letter that SpaceX wrote. They wouldn't be doing this unless they had something. Now, once again, I want to reconfirm that everything here, all these delays to Starship are happening. They're happening not because SpaceX is doing stuff without a permit, but that they need a more individualized permit, and in the interim time can run off of a different permit. They can run off the general permit, but they need an individualized permit. That's what's delaying this, okay? Or delaying one part of it. The FAA needs a consultation with the Fish and Wildlife Service, and they need a consultation for the sonic boom for whatever reason. And I forget what the other one was. Let me go and read it. Hold on. Oh, yeah, the moving the fuel farm thing. Yeah, yeah, that one, I don't know. But long story short, this kind of goes with what we were saying, that I think the FAA is so ridiculously overwhelmed, right? I think they're so ridiculously overwhelmed that they don't have the bandwidth to be able to deal with all the changes that SpaceX makes, that they're not, and the changes that do happen so ridiculously quick, right? That that they don't even know what's good and what's not. The FAA finds SpaceX for doing something without a permit or without FAA approval when there was an FAA, they launched something without FAA approval when there was a Federal Aviation Administration official there that okayed the launch. That was last year. So, once again, overwhelmed, a symptom for the incompetent? I don't know, Slim. I think the FAA wants to do things the way that they know, and I think the way that they know is not the way that SpaceX does things. But once again, I think SpaceX knew for the longest time that they had to roll with the punches, right? And the second they started getting inconsistent rulings, like what you see here, is the second they were like, what the heck? What the heck? Is it good or is it not good? Because if I'm remembering this correctly, they're on the hook for 630 grand of fines. And part of those fines, the FAA said was fine in the past, ironically. Left hand don't know what the right hand's doing. And if it's to the point where the Federal Aviation Administrator is saying stuff and SpaceX is saying that's false, right? That's categorically false. Well, that tells me two things. Either we're right and the FAA is kind of doesn't really know what's going on, which is a possibility, or the interpretation of events is different between SpaceX and the Federal Aviation Administrator, right? So, in which case, you're dancing around each other, which, yeah, that always ends well. You ever watch an argument? You ever watch a debate where people dance around each other? Like person A asks person B a question, and person B asked person A a question, and you don't make any headway. It's just like, well, you're a jerk because of this. Well, you're a jerk because of this. Well, you're a jerk because of this. Do you admit that you're a jerk because of this? Do you admit that you're a jerk because of this? It's like, oh, okay. All right. Like most political debates. Yep. You mean like the presidential debates? Yeah, something like that. You know, like, how are you going to fix this problem? Well, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a story about basketball. Or let me tell you a story about skyscrapers. It's like, okay. Okay. Then it becomes, you're a jerk because you called me a jerk. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Chris, there you go. It's compounding. It's an upfield lateral pass. Yeah, there you go. Yep. Yeah, I have concepts. How dare you? How dare you? So, guys, once again, I think that's what's going on. It's either open to interpretation here, and clearly the FAA and SpaceX aren't really seeing eye to eye on things. But either that, or maybe I don't know. I think it's much more likely that the FAA, a government organization, isn't concurrent on something because they're not used to they're not used to this bandwidth of work. It could be that. Could be anything else. Don't know. Yeah. Now, I want to speak to this because a lot of people are saying, I've seen this get thrown around a lot, that they're going after Elon because there's some crazy conspiracy or something, or, SpaceX can't just do what it wants, right? Like the flip side of that would be like, you have to obey the law, etc., etc. Why no face cam today? My head's killing me, Koala. But I'm here. You get cardboard cutout, EJ. I mean, like I said, you want to see what this looks like? Like, I'm in a dark room. There's only the monitor light in here because the lights were just killing my head today. They're just killing me, dude. But yeah, I'm just in a dark room. The cool part about this is that I can do this. Ready? Got him. So that's cool. But yeah, the lights are killing me today, dude. So I kind of just am like this. Hope your headaches go away. It's subsiding, believe it or not. This is actually helping. Pretty good. Not bad. Yeah. Yep. Why is the FAA and not the Space Force that oversees these companies? Because the idea behind giving the FAA regulatory approval here, Crownless, is this weird? This is strange. Just get the cutout. Just get the cardboard cutout. All right, I'm just gonna hide behind this, okay? The idea is that they want to treat commercial space flight exactly how they treat commercial like jetliners. That's the idea. That was the idea behind giving the FAA the regulatory process. Move the cutout as you speak. Don't make. Yeah, that was the idea. Dude, it looks like one of those YouTube videos. I can't believe they were allowed to do this. Doing this is actually completely ridiculous. Now, buddy, the Canadian government has apologized to Brian Adams on several occasions. EJ VTuber when? Oh, jeez. Space Force should have the manpower to do it faster. But yeah, asking the Space Force to do that would be like asking the Coast Guard to, like regulate marine traffic. That's really not how that works. You are a low effort VTuber now. Thank you. Oh, God. Wasn't the goal of SpaceX to act like an airliner? Yeah, Cornbread, I think that's one of the reasons why the FAA is going slow, because how the hell does the FAA know what regulatory framework is needed for a commercial space fort? Nice. Commercial space fort. Your authority is not recognized in Fort Kick Butt. I think they've been going slow because of this. I think that's why I don't think it's any crazy conspiracy. As pro SpaceX as I am, like, I don't think it's any crazy conspiracy here. But what I was getting at, dude, is simultaneously, we did these numbers yesterday when we were talking about Starship and HLS, because SpaceX posted some really awesome pictures of the stack. They stacked it. It's kind of a way of saying, hey, look, we're ready to go. Like, here, I'll show you those pictures here. There you go. See, now you got to think about this, okay? All right. Consider this for a second, okay? SpaceX has to deliver HLS for Artemis 3 sometime in 2026. If, SLS continues to be a gigantic fustercluck like it is, let's say 2027. Let's play devil's advocate here. Let's say SLS, they keep going with the atrocious SLS contracts. We don't get a launch. Artemis 3 until 2028. And the OIG has said that, like, that's the worst case scenario. And, the OIG, I mean, we're going to read about OIG stuff in a second. Say that that's what's going on. All right. So SpaceX has until 2028 to deliver the lander. 2026, if someone decides to, do something about the frankly atrocious state of contracts for the Artemis program, right? So, okay, let's play devil's advocate. Let's go 2028. Okay, how many launches do you need? How many launches do you need with Starship? How many things do you have to prove out with Starship to deliver an HLS to rectilinear halo orbit in 2028 so an Orion can dock with it? How much? So let's think about this here. Barring any test flights, okay? No test flights. Well, I mean, first and foremost, they got to prove that they can catch that booster. You don't catch that booster, this thing doesn't get delivered on time. If you're not able to reuse super heavies, you are screwed, which is why SpaceX is pushing the catch attempt now. Because if you think about it, SpaceX has they're contracted for 2 big missions between now and Artemis 3 with NASA and HLS Starship. One of them is an uncrewed landing on the moon with a Starship. Okay, that's the first one. The second one is the actual crew flight. So, what do you need to do to get 2 HLS Starships out there? SpaceX themselves have admitted that it's going to take 12 to 16 refueling flights. So you're going to have to, 1, launch HLS up there. 2, launch the depot, gigantic Starship that's just all fuel tank, right? You're going to have to launch a depot Starship. Okay, so that's 2. Now remember, you got to do this twice.
Discovery,
So,
go at throttle up.
because crewed and uncrewed landing, right? So that's 2 launches. Depot, Starship, HLS. Now you need 12 to 16 refueling flights. So let's just say it's 16 flights total per HLS that they send to the moon. That's 32 flights in the next 4 years for Starship. 32 flights of the biggest and most powerful heavy lift launch vehicle ever devised. That's not even including them, maybe they don't get the catch attempt on the first try. You could be damn sure they're not going to expend 32 super heavies. That's not happening. They'll have the catch down by then, hopefully, right? Might not need 2 different vehicles for a crewed demo and uncrewed, assuming they'll launch uncrewed with Eklis on board. I mean, Savvy, sure. Okay, if you want to even take that into account, dude. The point that I'm trying to get at here, I mean, we could argue, not semantics, right? Okay, dude, let's say it's 1. Let's say NASA's like, cool, just reuse that one. That's 16 flights by 2028. Okay? 16 flights by 2028. And this is like taking into account that Artemis might have their head completely up their tail. Okay? 16 flights in 4 years is no joke. That's 4 flights a year for Starship. That is, we are not even at that rate for Starship launches right now. We're not even close. That's kind of because the FAA is dragging their feet a little bit. Not dragging their feet. They're doing their due diligence. It's not dragging their feet. Sometimes I let my pro SpaceX bias kind of show, but that's not what's going on. Okay? So, dude, Savvy, you know good and well, 4 flights a year, 4 flight annual launch cadence over the next 4 years. Like, it's not going to work like that. Maybe they could get away with it. But either way, 16 launches of anything in 4 years, like barring Falcon 9, is an absurd launch cadence. That's absurd. That's a crazy launch cadence for any vehicle. Once again, Falcon 9 notwithstanding, because that thing is a workhorse, right? The Falcon 9's ridiculous, right? So think about that for a second, right? Noodle on it. That's taking into account that the Artemis program, like NASA, has their heads completely up their tail, right? Completely up their tail. And we don't get Artemis 3 until 2028. What more likely is going to happen is that we don't get Artemis 3 until late 2026, early 2027, if I had to guess. Guess what, dudes? That's 24 months to, at the very least, launch and land Starship. In-flight refueling, super heavy catches. That's 24 months to get at least 16 launches down. SpaceX is nowhere near that rate. Now, don't get me wrong, they've made great strides, absolutely. They're nowhere near it. This is what SpaceX means what Elon means when they say you are delaying our national security missions. You are delaying this is going to delay the Artemis missions, right? Sure, Pat. Yeah, no, I'm trying, right? And we don't even know when or where they're building HLS. Bingo. That's why SpaceX is anal retentive with the FAA. That's why they're pushing their buttons right now, because they can't. It's not just this regulatory agency isn't letting me launch the booster. Yeah. It's not that. It's like, hey, we're trying to deliver on a $2.4 billion contract. There's a lot of money here at stake, right? We're trying to give NASA their lander on time, amongst other things, right? So, because once again, fellas, I will say this right now, Starship does not have any customers except for NASA. The only customer that Starship and SpaceX has for the Starship program is NASA right now, and Polaris 3, if you count that, right? That national security thing doesn't factor into Blue Origin HLS. I don't understand how that's relevant. Savvy, what do you mean? And that assumes that they get catch and refueling figured out immediately. Refueling IMO is harder of the two. And Starlink, yeah, of course, but Starlink is an internal mission, meaning that SpaceX could launch fast with Starlink, but they have a customer. They have a paying customer of this, and the paying customer is Uncle Sam. Yet Uncle Sam is slowing them down. It's a little absurd if you look at it from their point of view, right? Guys, long story short, they have to up the launch cadence. You have to, Savvy, you said it. You said where I was going with this. They got to prove out catching the booster. They have to prove out on-orbit refueling. They have to prove that Starship can rendezvous and dock with other things, right? They have to prove the environmental control and life support systems on Starship work. They have to prove reusing the thing. Bring a Starship back from orbit, let alone catching the booster. That is an insane flight cadence if you incorporate that on top of the 12 to 16 missions that they are contracted for by 2026. I would say at the very least, they have to launch, like, let's take the 10 to 16 launches and you add 10 more demo flights on that. That's 26 launches of Starship in the next 2 years. At the very least, this is the very, very least. This is why SpaceX is rocking the boat about this, because this is a big problem. They're not going to get it done. You're not going to get it done on time. Couldn't NASA go after the FAA because they're away sitting down SLS with the delays of Starship? It's possible, goalie, if somebody had the wherewithal of pointing that out at NASA. I'm not sure. If they're saying that delays Starship launch, Starship launches delays Artemis, that Artemis assumes that Artemis 3 assumes that Starship is the only HLS lander. What? Look, Artemis 3 is contracted for Starship, Savvy. Artemis 4 and beyond is contracted for sustainable lunar development, if I'm remembering correctly. Artemis 3 can't be on anything else. It's contracted to SpaceX to the tune of $2.4 billion with a high fidelity lander for Artemis 3 and at least one uncrewed landing demonstration on the moon. Nope. What do you mean, nope? What are you talking about? I'm confused. This problem would have happened if Constellation was never canceled. Constellation wouldn't have had this problem because they had one lander, and lander was expected to land on the moon in a certain date. So no, Nova. I don't. Did they change the contract stipulation on me, Savvy? Because if Artemis 3 has the option of using Blue's lander, I'm gonna need a source on that one. If you could get me a source, dude. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I've never seen that. Yeah, exactly, Chris. Yeah. Right? Like I'm not sure. Long story short, it's a lot of launches. They need to launch a lot to deliver on their contracts that they were paid to do. That's why SpaceX has been so incessant on this. Like they're pushing the issue on purpose. Because they have to. Like Starship has to go. Like that, and SpaceX just moves quick. They move very, very fast. Because of the number of refueling flights needed, you think the V3 of Starship will be used for Artemis at all to mitigate that? I don't know, Tennyson. Maybe. It's possible. It depends on how fast the regulatory approval for it can be. If NASA okays V3 Starship and the empirical data backs it up that it's a vehicle that they understand that will work, yeah, sure, they'll use it. The commercial crew missions weren't originally contracted to use reused boosters, but now you see crew 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, not all of them, but you see NASA crew launches with Crew Dragon on top of reused boosters. So yeah, I would say that it could change, sure, if SpaceX can empirically prove that the hardware is safe. It's very simple. If SpaceX has the evidence in writing for the delusion, the prop farm, etc., they win. I think it's really that simple. Sure. Since Starship was successful in re-entry and landing, what is the goal now for the 5th launch? Do it again. Catch the booster this time. Hired. And make sure your wing doesn't get a hole burned through it. When did they stack? I was thinking there was like a 1% chance. When they did the stack, I was thinking there's like a 1% chance they'll launch. And said this is what launching without a permit looks like. Oh man, I'd be about that life. Sorry, that'd be awesome. But I don't think that would help them considering they just put out they just put out a letter basically saying they've never launched without a permit. You know? Dude, look at that monster. Oh my goodness. What do you think? What do you think the get the heck out of the way date is? There has to be a point where we have a set date. We have to push forward and launch period and start doing testing, or else. I don't know. Push forward and launch. I'm not really sure what you're getting at, goalie. Hey, James, are you sick? I have a disgusting migraine again today, dude. I think I'm just dehydrated, so it's not like the migraine I had the other day where I was like, I have to leave by blah, you know. It's just enough to be annoying. So I have all the lights off in my studio. And if you want to see what that looks like here, no problem. Hey, how you doing? I'm good. I'm still good enough to do space news, so I'm here. Hello. And, you know, like I said, I can do this. You know, so I got that going for me, which is nice. No, that's pretty neat. EJ after dark. In the dark. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. There you go, Pat. Yeah, you got you I'm shutting this off. Okay. You just enjoy fake EJ. There you go. Oh, of course I did, Pogo. Cannot I find any source in any press release? Yeah, Savvy, I swear, dude, I'm not making this up. I'm pretty dang sure Artemis 3, it has to be a starship. And then SLD is for Artemis 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Oh, God. But anyway. Oh, jeez. Come on. So we don't slip Artemis 3 because we're waiting on Starship to finish because it's not ready. Nah, goalie, I'll be honest with you. I think there's some pride involved here. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm not trying to say that NASA is intentionally going slow. That's not what's going on. It's the contracts for SLS. NASA can go fast if they, you know, people that decide NASA's goals don't act like they headbutt a brick wall when it comes to spaceflight policy every day. If you have somebody that comes along, we choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. If you have something like that, then maybe they could be more expedient. Right? I don't think NASA's dragging their feet, and I do not think the government is slowing SpaceX down because they're trying to scale somehow. They're trying to scale the Starship to, you know, SLS's deadlines. But, however, I do think that SpaceX is trying to really push the boundaries here. And they're trying to push the boundaries because they want, for the Artemis programs, with such a high-profile thing, they don't want to be the contractor that's not there on time. You are correct. Currently released schedule has Blue Origin flying on Artemis 5. Okay, Savvy. Cool. Yeah. Just making sure. I was like, wait a minute. Sauce me, baby. Sauce me. All good. Like, I know, Savvy, like, I want to make this very clear. I know you're not whatabouting me. Like, I get it. I know, dude. I trust you. Here, hold on. Let me turn this on. I know you're not like, no, that's not right. I know you wouldn't do that unless you were legit with it. It's all good, dude. Don't worry about it. Frick, my head hurts. Oh, God. But this is, like, actually somewhat bearable, you know? Too much. I have to face the wall, please. With head. Okay. Anyway. I think you said yesterday that the FAA would come to an agreement in a week or so. I said that we're probably going to get it sooner rather than later, dude. I think SpaceX rocking the boat is going to light a fire under the FAA's tail because, dude, I'll be honest with you, man. If you guys haven't seen the Senate Judiciary meetings, I know watching C-SPAN is something that everyone here does in their spare time, right? Right? Am I right? No? Okay, cool. If you didn't watch those, I've only seen clips. I have not watched the whole things, but dude, it seems that Congress is pissed that this is not that they're not SpaceX isn't allowed to go faster with this, which is not what I expected, to be honest. Dino's like, I like C-SPAN. Oh. We just keep C-SPANning it up then. Did you watch this meeting then, Dino? How much do you like C-SPAN? How much did you watch it? Huh? Did you watch this meeting? I had work. Oh. Well, isn't that convenient quotation mark for you? No, anyway, I'm just kidding, man. Yeah. Yeah, I know, Bill. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny, dude. I think showing, like, I used to not show the Senate Judiciary stuff, but it's actually very interesting hearing the discourse because, like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't really stray too much into political issues, with the exception of spaceflight policy. That is my one thing where I allow that nonsense to come in here, right? Because it's important. It's important to understand that. It's important for me to understand it. It's important for you to understand it. It's important for us to understand it. And that's good for America. And knowing is half the battle. No, I'm sorry. So it's very interesting that Congress has a fire lit under its tail and they're up the FAA's tailpipe about getting this stuff figured out. Like, seriously, there was a senator I think it was a senator. There's a senator that went to the FAA guy who's like, I'm sorry, I thought this was America. I ain't heard no bell. I thought this was America. You want Chinese on the moon first? I thought this was America. I'm like, damn, dude. Whoa. That's kind of cool. You know, I'm sorry. I thought this was America. They're like, you know, like sitting there like Randy Marsh, you know, I ain't heard no bell. Get him, Dad. You know, I don't like the idea of making special exceptions for anyone breaking the rules regardless of their importance. Bingo. Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea either, Savvy. Yeah. But once again, like, here's the thing. I don't think, I've said this once, I'll say it again, dude. It does not benefit anybody for SpaceX to go and sit there and say the FAA is full of snot, right? Unless they actually are, right? Why would you do that? Even then, like, maybe, like, not do this so publicly, right? But also at the same time, like, you wouldn't do this unless you needed to. Like, I think it's very vital to SpaceX's bottom line that Starship is more expedient than not. One, you know, because of that $2.4 billion contract payout, that probably has something to do with it, you know? We're getting dangerously close to that line with SpaceX. But you got to remember, dude, it's all about, they didn't launch without any permits. They got a reprieve from said permit per what they said in that letter that we just read, right? They got a reprieve while they reapplied for a more individualized permit regarding the deluge system, right? Now, the other stuff, I don't know. I think them moving the prop farm and then going to the range safety and being like, hey, the range says it's good. Okay, great. The range doesn't approve you for flight. Now, I mean, they do to an extent, but the FAA is the one that gives you the launch permit, right? Like, not the range. So saying the range is okay is like you speeding right down the road. A cop pulls you over and you going to a fireman and saying, hey, you saw it. I wasn't speeding. This cop's trying to oppress me. The fireman's going to be like, what? Okay. There's no fire here. I'm leaving, you know, like. Help, I'm being oppressed. Come see the violence inherited in the system. Help, I'm being oppressed. Old woman, man. I'm 37. I'm hardly old. Last. Okay, what's up? Doing it very publicly allows the oversight agencies to see what they're going through, along with the taxpayers. Yeah, absurd. Yeah, for sure. Didn't one of them literally, as the FAA, do you need more money? How much would it take to get things done? Almost like, here, let me write you a check to hire more people. Yep. Well, I'm Arthur, King of the Britain. Yeah, didn't know we had a king. Who doesn't have C-SPAN on in the background? Yeah, right? Right? Yeah. Who doesn't? But yeah, I mean, here's the thing, Savvy. I think SpaceX is right about some of the things, and I think they're blatantly wrong about others. I think that a lot of these fines are going to get thrown out, but a lot of them aren't. Like, and I'm not sure. Well, no, I am sure. I am sure that if the case for them going slow, right? The case for them fining them is because of selective enforcement of at the FAA's own regulatory framework for permits for launch. You know, like I said, that'll get some of them thrown out, but it won't get all of them thrown out. You know, like. But then again, you know, I do believe the mission with the whole tank farm thing going on was a national security mission. So SpaceX could always make the argument that, hey, the DoD isn't beholden to you, and this is a DoD mission, blah, 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 which I don't think will hold up at all. I really don't. I don't think that'll hold up in court. The FAA guy specifically refused to answer in any way to that question. Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, like, I'm not making a rule in one way or the other. I do understand that SpaceX has a launch cadence that they need to get done. They can't just sit here and wait every 3 to 5 months to launch a Starship. That's not, you're not going to get, NASA won't get their lunar lander on time. Right? And then who's going to, you know, say that does happen. Say that does happen. Say they don't get their lunar lander on time. Say Artemis 3 is ready to go in late 2026 and there's no lander. Now what? Everyone's just going to sit there. Is anybody going to blame the FAA? Hell no. They're going to blame SpaceX. Right? There's a lot riding on that lander, guys. There's a lot of precedent riding on getting that lander delivered on time. Because everybody thought SpaceX wouldn't be able to do it because the lander is so ridiculously over-engineered for application. That's what I mean about some pride things with SpaceX. But, simultaneously, you can't go and sit there and just move stuff around and be laissez-faire with the law. It's the law for a reason. You want it changed, do something about it, which I think they are. But also, that doesn't give you the right to just go do whatever you want. You're not Ron Swanson. You don't have that permit. I have a permit. This permit just says I can do whatever I want. Yes. You know? The king, well, I didn't vote for you. Yeah, right? There isn't a lot riding on that lander. Just some astronauts and maybe a rover. Right. If the FAA was claiming things that are verifiably wrong, then it isn't a law issue. Well, like I said, Hellfish, I think because the FAA is so ridiculously overwhelmed that they're having trouble being unified in their application of the law, because the law changes every 5 minutes because SpaceX files so many changes, design changes under the regulatory 450 framework, if I'm remembering right. Well, feel better. Have a good one. All right, Norris. Thank you for watching, buddy. I'll see you tomorrow. See you later. See you sometime. Come back. No, I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding. I'll talk to you. If the FAA... Yeah, I mean, if the FAA is approving stuff and then finding them later for it on a launch they said was okay, well, that's your fault. That's their fault. Yeah, well, Hellfish, once again, I think SpaceX is doing this because they're building a case. and they're citing specific issues on a specific day to build this case against the FAA. You can easily get more nuanced if the on-site FAA rep doesn't have approval authority. Yeah, like I said, I think the FAA needs more funding. But like I said, it's odd because in that testimony, like when Congress asked him in that Senate subcommittee if he needed more money, the guy gave a non-answer, which is very weird. I don't know why you'd do that, but interesting. Yeah, I mean, guys, like I said, SpaceX wouldn't do this. They wouldn't rock the boat publicly like this unless they had something from a legal standpoint. Unless they had legal standing. That's the word I was looking for. The phrase. Should the FAA be the ones approving space flights? Well, it was thought to be a good idea at the time, Ruinous, but I think more and more we're probably going to need like a federal space administration, right? You know, like basically a department of the Federal Aviation Administration, right? A department of the FAA that's just for, you know, commercial spaceports and commercial launches, you know? I think that's what's needed. Yeah, the SAA, there you go. Wouldn't it be FSA? This is how Starfleet gets formed. Yeah, baby. I think that probably is what's going to be the outcome of all this, if I had to guess. But Deadbringer, just to be technical about it, the rules SpaceX are not codified in law. Okay. The enacted Code of Federal Regulations defers authority to executive agencies to govern their assigned sphere. So the FAA is both maker of the rules and judge and the executor of said rules. Oh, so yeah, then it's not because it's not a law and it's because it's an executive authority, right? Yeah, they can change it willy-nilly. Deadbringer and that. Oof. Yeah, interesting. If that's the case, yeah. How about the Expedient Judgment Spaceflight Authority? Yeah, I like that one, Bill. That's a good idea. That was the Chevron deference. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'd need to ask somebody that knows more about this than me how Chevron deference has precedent, if it has precedent here. I'm not sure. Imagine how much worse the FAA would be if the courts were involved in FAA decisions. That would suck. Yeah, Gecko. Yeah, I know. Chevron is gone. The Supreme Court ruled that. Yeah, that's stupid. I'm wondering how that how that ceasing to exist affects this, if at all. That's what I'm trying to say. Why don't they just give the job to NASA? That's not really what NASA does. NASA doesn't permit flights. They'll have authority over Starship HLS, Badger. They would have authority on launching that, but not much else. Difference. Yeah. Defecate? Wait, what? Yeah, NASA isn't a regulatory body. They're a scientific research organization. Yeah, Peter, that's a possibility. I mean... dude. All right. Okay, real quick. All right, once again, I'm in a dark room because with all the lights off because my head is killing me. All right. I'm not one to talk to you guys about dreams that I had, but this is a humdinger of a dream. I had a dream that post-November of this year, Elon became NASA administrator. It was a strange dream. You know the implications there. No, I'm not explaining how he became NASA administrator. I'm sure you could figure it out. Dude, I had that dream and I'm like, ah. And my dream consisted of trying to explain how this happened during a space news segment like this. I'm not even kidding. This was the thing that it actually happened. And I'm like, okay. Okay, this dream's weird. What did you do with the FAA in your dream? It wasn't that detailed, Hired. I woke up before that ended. Dude. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I had a dream that he became NASA administrator. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine him going in there? Why did you say this would cost 380 million and now it costs 1.2 billion? How did you mess that up? Screw you. Somebody else build it. You're fired. Like, oh man. Okay. I found the original NyQuil with the good stuff. Stranger things have happened. Dude, it was a strange dream. And like I said, in my dream, dude, I had to sit here and awkwardly try to explain to chat how this happened. Like dancing around Rule 8. That was my dream. Yeah. Really got a little bit stressed out from that one in my dream. I kind of woke up and was like, oh, it's pretty funny though. I mean, like, like on one hand, I could see how that would not end very well. There's a huge conflict of interest, right? But on the other hand, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, this is a weird dream. Okay. This is the Halloween theme. No, this is the EJ has a scorching migraine, so all of my key lights and fill lights are off. Yeah, it's bad. My head is killing me. This actually makes it bearable. I'm actually all right now. But, yeah, I'll be good, dude. This is actually helping a lot. Hey, Ensign, 90-month resub. Thank you. All right. All right. I've had you have dreams about Satisfactory recently. Sleazy, it's your birthday, so that makes sense. Happy birthday? Oh, nice, Deadbringer. There you go. No, EJ, no other hand with that situation. Like, yeah, Pluto, I know. It's like, I don't know. That could either be really, 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 really good or really, really bad. Like, I don't know, man. We're just going to have to wait and see. That's a problem that's way out of my purview and control, and I'm not going to be preoccupied whether that will or will not happen because that leads to insanity. Remember, don't get caught up in it. Remember, don't do it. Don't do it. Guys, we still have, what is it, like 45 more days of this. Don't get caught up in it. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's designed to rile you up. Remember that. You shouldn't be ignorant to the issues. No matter how you look at them. Chill. Tranquilo. Tranquilo. Relax. Trust me on this one. Your anxiety meter will thank you later. Okay? Tequila? Oh, yeah, that'll help too. You're going to build a small house using all the political flyers you've received in the mail. Oh, dude, let's go. Now that's thinking with your dipstick. Well, time to watch The Sandlot again. Yep. Sorry, Technical Fox. My bad. Think about that, kid. Remember, there's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. Follow your heart, chat. Never go wrong. Tranquilo, tres comas. Sí. Do you guys know what tres comas means in Spanish? No, that's wrong. It means 3 commas. It's the amount of money I make when I sell the company and make that frick ton of Intersight money. This might help cheer you up. Football doesn't exist right now, Vincent. Oh, that one's pretty good. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, that was a good time. I'm remembering the good old days. Yep. Yeah, that was a good time. Yeah, really wish we could, you know, do that again. But, you know, that's... Okay, fake EJ, all right, not crying in the corner. All right. You were talking to the Godfather about that on Thursday. Awesome. Awesome. Tessa, what was your last? Here, this will cheer you up. Here, this might cheer you up too. I don't know. Boston Dynamics. Oh, that's neat. Cool. Oh, look at that. All right. Is it OIG time yet? I think it's OIG time. I think I control the rate of which articles are discussed, Creeper, not you. I think you need to back the frick off and stay in your lane. How about that? Yeah. Sorry. I wish NASA authorization finished out funding Viper. All right. Let's hear. You want more crap sandwich? Here, have more crap sandwich. This is NASA Office of Inspector General. All right. All right, here we go. What do we got here? This is fun. NASA is facing challenges managing its rocket propulsion test program, due in part to an aging and costly infrastructure and declining customer demand for its large-scale facilities. Go to bed, take care of that migraine. Actually, you know, I'm coming around, dude. It's not bad. I'm actually all right. I'm not going to turn the lights back on, but I'm really not doing too bad here. I just feel like I'm going to puke, but whatever. It's fine. I'm good. Thank you for your concern, though. I do appreciate it. Spoopy EJ. Yeah, that's right. All right, so... Report fraud, waste, and abuse hotline. Yes, hi. I would like to report in everything, please. I want cocoa. I gotta go poopy. I'm suffering from brovid. All right, hang on. I'm gonna drink more water. NASA uses rocket propulsion test sites to see how engines and components will react in launch conditions and in space and address any issues before launch. Much of NASA's RPT infrastructure is aging and requires significant funding to maintain. While demand for NASA's large-scale RPT facilities is in decline and funding is insufficient to address major maintenance projects. Maybe if NASA used them more, you know, like this wouldn't happen because you're like paying for them already. All right, let's go. Why we perform this audit? Rocket engines and their components undergo extreme conditions during launch, including high temperature, pressures, and vibrations. NASA uses rocket propulsion test sites to evaluate how engines and components will react in launch conditions and in space, ensuring that issues can be addressed before launch. Yep, everyone does that. NASA publicly announced plans to open a rocket engine test facility at Stennis Space Center, Stennis, in 1961, and RPT sites were critical during the Apollo and Shuttle eras. NASA built, here, let me zoom in so you guys can see it. NASA built up significant RPT infrastructure during these periods, and propulsion testing continues to serve a vital role at NASA programs. However, as the space industry has become more commercialized, NASA has seen less internal need for large-scale propulsion testing, but an increase in opportunities for external customers to utilize NASA's RPT infrastructure. Yeah, that's what happens when you cancel it, and all the programs that used all this, that would have had, justified the cost of them, would have been fine. Whatever. NASA's RPT program office, located at Stennis, works both with internal and external customers, making test stand assignments and ensuring critical rocket propulsion test infrastructure. I'm just going to say test stands in lieu of RPT, guys, all right? Ensuring critical test stand infrastructure and support are maintained across 8 NASA facilities. Test stands at NASA is managed as a capability portfolio, so the program ensures NASA maintains the infrastructure and critical skills for current and future test stand needs. NASA's Rocket Propulsion Test Management Board serves as the decision-making body for NASA's test stand sites. The board reviews and approves test assignments, facility modifications, and all key decisions. NASA also participates in the National Rocket Propulsion Test Group, where the agency and the Department of Defense, DoD, collaborate to share best practices, coordinate, and ensure efficiency. In this audit, we assess whether NASA effectively and efficiently manages its portfolio of RPT capabilities. We also assess factors affecting RPT assignments, capital investments, and RPT-related processes and operating procedures. We interview officials from the Test Stand Program Office, Human Spaceflight Capabilities Division, and Test Stand Centers, as well as from the Department of Defense. What we found. Okay, let's see what we got here. Much of NASA's RPT infrastructure is aging and requires significant funding to maintain. Meanwhile, the landscape for test stands are changing. Increased commercialization in the space industry has lessened demand for NASA's large-scale RPT facilities. NASA is also transferring some responsibility for payload delivery to commercial partners, such as the Commercial Lunar Payload Services Initiative. These trends lead NASA's test stands sitting unused more often. From fiscal year 2022 to 2026, the percentage of NASA test stand capabilities in active use is projected to decrease from 47% to 26%. Of the 10 test stands projected for use in fiscal year 2025, 5 are being leased to commercial entities. 5 of the program's test stands are in mothball or demolition status, and Stennis's A2 and A3 test stands sat idle for nearly a decade before being leased to external customers. In addition to decreased demand, the RPT program is facing a flat budget with enough funding to maintain core staff and facilities, but insufficient funding to address major maintenance projects. The RPT program office is working to adjust the changing demand for RPT facilities. NASA has conducted multiple studies to assess future demand and determine the right mix of RPT capabilities to meet that demand. Right-sized studies in 2012 and 2020 gave the RPT program recommendations on which test stands and facilities to divest or decommission. A study wrapped up in 2022 and assessed strengths and weaknesses at Stennis and recommended changes to the E-complex there, where small engines and components are tested. A commercial capability survey currently ongoing aims to help NASA understand RPT capabilities at commercial, government, and academic facilities. NASA is also taking steps to work with the flat RPT budget. 5 test stands are currently under lease to external partners. These lessees benefit both parties. These leases benefit both parties. NASA avoids some of the operations and maintenance costs, and the commercial entities avoid the cost and time required to build their own RPT facilities. The program is also investing in the E-complex at Stennis, the program's busiest facility. Finally, Stennis is piloting a new cost model that requires customers to pay for maintenance and usage costs. A change that could bring up to $1 million per year to the center through the program to the center. Though the program office sees the benefits of this cost model, similar models have not been implemented at other centers. This is partly because NASA policy documents do not clearly delineate who has the authority to implement a similar cost model at other centers. Yeah, Yeah, Deadbringer. That paragraph was particularly difficult to read. To ensure NASA's RPT capability portfolio is prepared for the future, we recommend that the RPT program manager establish a requirement for recurring right-size studies for the RPT capability portfolio. Implement cost models at other centers similar to the one at Stennis that requires customers to pay maintenance costs for the infrastructure and facilities being utilized. Document the current Document the current process for prioritizing maintenance projects and document the results and plan response to the commercial capability survey. You could have just put commas here. You don't need semicolons for this. I mean, like, not to be a grammar Nazi, but also commas will work just fine. There, you don't, that's not, never mind. We also recommend the assistant administrator for the Office of Strategic Infrastructure ensure appropriate revisions are made to NASA's policy documents to clarify relevant authority structures. We provided a draft of this report to NASA management, who concurred with our recommendations and described planned actions to address them. We consider management comments responsive. Therefore, the recommendations are resolved and will be closed upon completion and verification of the proposed corrective actions. So, test stands. NASA built all these test stands for the Saturn V and then adapted them for the shuttle program. Neither of those fly. And then adapted it for the SLS program to use once. Personally, I'm not about that. I've always said that NASA paid, so the B2 test stand at Stennis. So B2 test stand, Stennis. The B2 test stand is where the green run for the SLS happened. There's a picture of SLS on it right there. That was the Artemis 1 core stage. They paid all this money to the tune of $1 billion to tool up this test stand to do a full duration SLS burn here, right? You paid $1 billion to do this. Once. They retooled it. They redid everything. Now the B test stand is a double test stand. It was designed to static fire Saturn V first stages, and it could handle 2 at the same time for the increased cadence that we would have gotten when we chose to keep going to the moon, right? It's specifically designed for that. It's been retrofitted ever since. Now, the B1 test stand, Aerojet Rocketdyne uses that for whatever. And then the B2 test stand is still NASA's, right? But you paid all this money to refurbish all this stuff to use it once, to utilize it once. Why not just, like, why pay to refurbish the damn crane? Why pay to refurbish the damn cranes on this thing? Why would you do that? Just use it, just go get a crawler crane and use that. I mean, they did to an extent, like you could see it over there, but that's only because this crane over here, which was designed for a core that's not this long because it was designed for the Saturn V first stages, is there, right? Like, what's the point here? You did one green run. So, like, okay, that was the point, obviously. But what I'm getting at here is, why don't you test fire every core? Test fire every core, dry the engines. What are you worried about? The engine's not being reusable? I'm pretty sure they were designed for that. Right? Why you paid all that money? Is it really going to cost that much more to fire every SLS stage on this thing? Green run every single one of them? Is it really going to cost that much more? Dude, you paid to use it. Use it. Use the damn thing. There's no way that firing that thing more is going to somehow, like, yes, it's more expensive. Of course it's more expensive, but there's no way you're not going to learn something new here about the MPS, about propellant feeds. There's no way that live fire test data is not going to get you more results. SpaceX proved that pretty well. It shouldn't cost a ton more to test them all, but you know it will. Yeah, Bob, that's the problem. That's the problem that we're talking about here. That's the issue. You know, is it really going to cost that much to put that thing on that thing and send it? It shouldn't. But they redid this to the tune of $1 billion to use it once. This test stand is designed to fire 2 Saturn V first stages at once. It has the bandwidth to be able to launch a ton, well, not launch, test a ton of stuff all at once, right? And this is it, that once, that's it, that's all you need. You just need once, right? It's kind of ridiculous, man. Like, and now what they're going to do is retool it again to test the EUS, which is, so they paid $1 billion to retool it for an SLS core, did it once, and now they're going to retool it again to launch to test a full duration burn on the exploration upper stage, whenever the hell that happens. 2 S1C multiple times per month. This, and we wonder why they're having problems keeping this stuff funded. Hey, Astro Joe, this is where the cool kids are hanging out? Yeah. Yeah, you know, you're wondering why you're having trouble maintaining this. You paid $1 billion to update this with all manner of modern components, and now you're having trouble keeping. Now you're having trouble. You're having trouble paying for it. That's weird. Funny how that works. The EUS is a waste of that test stand's capability. Precisely, Gaw. Absolutely. If you wanted to test the EUS, NASA should have used the A1 or the A2 test stand. They should have kept the A2 test stand for single engine propulsion and used the A1 test stand for EUS testing. You know why? Because the A1 test stand was designed to test the second stages. Hello? Actually, both of those test stands were designed to test second stages, if you really want to know. So they can accept a 10-meter core. You know how I know? I have pictures. Here, we got pictures. Of course, the picture is potato. Give me 1 second. One moment. So this first picture is a picture of the B2 test stand doing its thing back in the day. That's with the SA500F first stage. Fun fact, that first stage is still around. That's the one at Kennedy Space Center. That guy right there. I think that's SA500F. It definitely looks like it. But anyway. This one right here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, how about that? There it is. These were originally tooled to be able to launch to be able to accept that. Which is, you know, anybody home? Think, McFly, think. Yep. Just whatever. You know, once again, all the funding for all these test stands, for all these grandiose test stands dried up when NASA decided it wasn't going to build a grandiose rocket. All right? That's the reality of that situation, okay? And it sucks. Now, like I said, we're not all pessimism in here. It's been a lot of that lately, and it's kind of getting annoying, but give me one moment. But guys, like, what's the solution? Well, the solution, part of what I would do is get every core stage on that test stand. Every SLS core stage would be on that test stand. And I would renegotiate those stupid costs until somebody pulls their head out of their tail. Like, look, you want that test stand to keep going. You don't want to sit there and flounder for cash, right? Put every core on there. Test 4 cores a year. Let's go. Get it done. There's no way you're not going to get more data about this thing from doing something like that. The cost, provided it's not $1 billion freaking test because of the high cadence of launch, should justify it. Look at that thing. It's a monster. Letting it sit there and do nothing like what it's doing at this exact moment right now is pathetic. That's unacceptable. Yeah, it's frankly unacceptable. But anyway, yeah, that's the OIG. NASA seems to concur that the concurrence, guys, is basically that the test stands that has no customer, they're basically going to scrap. That's the reality of that situation. I don't want to talk about that. That's just going to make me even more annoyed because we've been maintaining these test stands for 50 plus years now on each of them, and destroying them would mean all that money that we use to maintain them is throwing them down the drain. Which is, that's not infuriating at all. That's not infuriating at all. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, here, check this out. We got another one. You want another fun one? We're just getting all the good stuff today. House passes NASA authorization bill. Okay, this is a Space News article. Let's see what we got. From Jeff Faust over at Space News. The House passed the new NASA authorization bill September 23rd that would largely keep the agency on course and it... That's what you call that, huh? Okay. Yeah, that's what you call that, huh? All right. The House passed the NASA Reauthorization Act of 2024, H.R. 8958, on a 366 to 21 vote that far exceeded the two-thirds threshold for approval required under suspension of the rules, the legislative procedure used to take up the bill. Yep. If you get two-thirds majority, yeah, that's good. I'm just a bill. In remarks on the House floor, Representative Frank Lucas, chair of the House Science Committee, called the bill essential to keep NASA on track to return humans to the moon through the Artemis campaign ahead of the Chinese lunar exploration efforts. America's role as a space leader cannot be taken for granted. I agree with that. The next nation to land on the lunar surface will play a key role in guiding the norms and practices that may govern lunar and space exploration for decades to come. We cannot cede U.S. leadership at this time. I agree with that. Yep, very much so. That sounds like Mike Griffin. Mike Griffin says stuff like that. Frank Lucas is in fact not Mike Griffin, but anyway. He argued that the bill provides NASA with thoughtful, strategic direction across NASA's mission areas that go beyond Artemis to human spaceflight in low Earth orbit, scientific programs, and technology development. The bill, introduced in July, would make a few major changes in those efforts. Frank Lucas. I don't trust dudes having two first names. What about Ricky Bobby, legendary NASCAR driver? He won the Academy Award for Best Driver Ever Made. I trust him. Just saying. Okay, so the bill, introduced in July, would make a few major changes in those efforts. Instead, it formally authorizes several existing NASA initiatives, like the commercial development of spacesuits for Artemis and the International Space Station. Okay. A deorbit vehicle for the ISS, the Commercial Low Earth Orbit Destinations Program to support work on commercial station that will succeed the ISS and the ongoing Commercial Lunar Payload Services Program. The bill also directs a wide range of reports from NASA on topics ranging from non-NASA demands for On topics ranging from non-NASA demand for the Space Launch System and potential alternative approaches to the current human landing system lunar lander projects, to a summary of recent studies NASA has done on servicing and reboosting the Hubble Space Telescope. No members spoke on the House floor against the bill. While not perfect, this is a good bill that builds on the NASA Authorization Act of 2022 that was enacted as part of the CHIPS and Science Act, said Representative Valerie Fouché during the brief debate on the bill, urging members to vote for it. The bill now goes to the Senate, although it was not clear if the senators would seek to pass it or advance a separate NASA authorization bill. I hope that the other chamber will seize the opportunity to take up this important piece of legislation before the end of this year, so that NASA will have the certainty that it needs to carry out the bold activities that we've tasked it with. Okay, Brian Babin said that from Texas. Chair of the House Science Committee Space Subcommittee on the House floor. The House also passed a voice vote, H.R. 6219, the Accessing Satellite Data to Enable New Discoveries Act, ASCEND. Oh, look at you. That's cute. The bill formally authorizes NASA's ongoing commercial smallsat data acquisition program, where the agency buys commercial satellite imagery and other data for use in scientific research. Okay. Title 2, Exploration, Continuity of Purpose for Space Exploration. Congress finds the following. NASA continues to make progress in development and testing of the Space Launch System Orion and associated ground systems, including through the successful completion of the Artemis 1 mission in November 2022 and through continued preparations for the Artemis 2 crew flight demonstration mission. The number of spacefaring countries is increasing in foreign... Okay, yep, okay, get to the moon before everybody else. Yeah, we got that. We got the gist of it. Okay, reaffirmation of the Space Launch System. All right, let's see what we got. Development and cadence objectives. All right, maybe some good news. Maybe we decide to eat a turd sandwich today. I don't know. Let's see what Congress has in store. Support for the full development of capabilities of the Space Launch Systems as set forth in 302C of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration Authorization Act of 2010. Sorry, excuse my language. I'll time myself out. I hate that act. That right there is the most disastrous piece of legislation for NASA ever devised. Let's hear what Mama has to say on the subject. Like I said, still coming to bite us in the butt 14 years later. Its commitment to the flight rate of the Space Launch System and Orion crew vehicle mission set forth in Section 10812B of the Authorization Act of 2022. The administrator shall assess the demand for the Space Launch System by entities other than NASA and shall break out such demand according to the relevant federal agency or non-government sector. This assessment may estimate the cost and schedule savings from reduced transit times and the potential for increased returns enabled by unique capabilities. B, describe any barriers or challenges that could impede the use of the Space Launch System by entities other than NASA. And Section C, identify potential actions and costs associated with overcoming barriers and challenges described in subparagraph B. Oh, wow. Great choice of words. Report Okay. B, report no later than 180 days after the date you have to deliver. Okay. Yep, all right. NASA's progress towards achieving the flight rate referred to in subsection Alpha 1B Bravo and the expected launch of the Integrated Space Launch System and Orion crew vehicle missions, after which such cadence shall be achieved. Okay. I believe that's 2 flights a year, I think, per like what it was. But yeah, the subsection is not there. 102 pages of this. We're not, dude, we are not going through all of it. I want to see what this has to do with SLS and everything else. I don't need to see that NASA needs to, you know, paint murals in New York City for millions of dollars, which, yeah, believe it or not, that's not nonsense. That's what they're doing. Section 204, human lunar landing capabilities. This is what I'm wondering about, guys. I'm interested here. What are we talking about here? Just let Das read it and tell us what it means. I can do the thing with the cardboard cutout, but it's going to take more than my morning dev free time, so laters. Oh, dude, you don't have to do it. I'll be back on camera by tomorrow, Predominant. Thank you, though. I appreciate it. Wasn't Hubble service the last time with the shuttle? Yep. Congress reaffirms that the Moon to Mars program set forth in Section 10811 of the 2022 Authorization Act shall include human-rated lunar landing systems. The administrator shall support development and demonstration of and shall obtain human-rated lunar landing capabilities to further the goals of human exploration roadmap under Section 432 of the National Transitional Authorization Act of 2017. Okay. The Transitional Authorization Act of 2017, guys, just for some context here, is what established the Artemis program. It's what started it, basically. And the Moon to Mars program set forth. Okay, yep, all right. The administrator shall ensure that such human-rated lunar landing capabilities meet all requirements. Any commercial provider from which the administrator obtains human lunar landing capabilities must be from the United States. The administrators, okay, yep. Identifying the contribution over the past 5 years and the planned contribution from 2024 to 2029 of government personnel, expertise, technologies, and infrastructure utilized and to be utilized in support of design, development, or operation of a human lunar landing capabilities in this section, setting forth the details. Okay, cost. I'm skimming through it. Did the webcam die? No, my face hurts. I assume you already watched the GS2 Static Fire. I watched it. I haven't shown it, Savvy. I'm just looking to see what they want, like, changed with this. You know what? Let's just... I want to... Okay. I'm looking around for stuff. Yeah, everything seems to is referring to subsections of this bill that I have to go find. Hang on. Yeah. I'm reading the big sections here. I'm looking for anything interesting. Procedures for launch service risk mitigation. There's not much cool stuff in here. All right. All right. I saw what I wanted to see. Section 403, cryogenic fluid valve technology review. Nice. Have you seen the latest update to Boom Supersonics? Quarter horse. I saw the flight. Replace this with no. No, I'm good. I'm all set, man. Here. So here, check this out. This was after we logged off yesterday. Blue posted some video of their hot fire for their second stage, dudes. You're gonna want to check this out. I don't think there's any sound to it though. Oh yeah. Yeet. That is very, very nice. Yeah, guys, look at the overexpansion that's happening right there. Those engines don't have any nozzles on them. Just FYI, there's no nozzles on these because they're upper stage engines. See how the plume like curves like that? Yeah, there ain't no nozzles on these things. But that's right. It's not a freaking Raptor engine. Raptor is the only engine I know that could fire up here and down there and really don't care about it. But that's because of the high chamber pressure. These B3Us are expander cycles, very different. Different manner of actuation, and yeah, these are kind of quote-unquote mere mortal upper stage engines, which is ironic because these things are not. These things, that right there, what you're seeing right there, save for maybe Starship, is the most powerful upper stage we've developed since the Saturn V. But yeah, compared to Raptor, these are a lot lower chamber pressure, but they're way more efficient than Raptor. Like by a factor of like almost, well, I was about to say these things probably make like 460 specific impulse. Raptor gets to like 380 and that's its theoretical maximum. So these, it's not 1.5, but it's definitely up there. These things are super efficient. These are Hydrolox motors at Elicard. They're expander cycles. They're RL10s, but they're RL10 style engines. So they're kind of like, they're like RL10s. They're using an expander. But each one of those B3Us makes 500 kilonewtons. That is the theoretical max for expander cycles. Like, you're getting to the limit of physics making an expander cycle with that much thrust. Yeah, me gusta. Ich liebe es. Ja, ist gut. Fix the moon architecture, Drake, no. Fix hydrogen planes, Drake, yes. Yeah. Ridiculous, man. But yeah, awesome footage. I showed it at like at the tail end of Space News, but yeah, that's freaking sweet. I really wish this camera gave us a little more, but hey, it's all right. It's all right. Also, the Rainbirds work pretty well. So, all right, dudes. May I post a new link? Yeah, sure, man. Give me 1 second. You gotta wait till the permit thing pops up in chat. $769 kilonewtons now. They make 769 kilonewtons from the B3U. Oh my goodness, dude, that stage is tits. Excuse my language. That thing's a monster. I love it. I love it. Oh, yes. Oh, that's... Yes. Meister, what are you posting? Oh, the SpaceX thing. Yeah, dude, we went over this like an hour ago. Yeah. Continuing saga of poop. But, you know, why do that when you get... Hey. We'll fly at 173,000 pounds of force. Dude, those things are almost as powerful as a Merlin engine. That's absurd for an upper stage, dude. And there's two of them. Twins, Basil. Twins. Tipsy. 58-month reset. Thank you.
Go and throttle up.
After the upgrade, Thomas and I did a little digging. New Glenn is officially stronger than Ares 1. Where is Thomas? I haven't seen him in here, Nova. He okay? Is he safe? Similarities to an S4B. This is more powerful in terms of thrust than an S4B and more efficient, Bob. Yeah. I want you. Yeah, right. Do you think that the BE3U is cheaper than Raptor 3? Most likely. Anything good so far today? Honestly, no. It's been pretty crappy news, except that we did see SpaceX dropping off parts to its mobile launcher at Sanchez, which is pretty cool. Does it feel like 2015 amounts of news? It's not bad. Look at the numbers for Ares 1. Look at New Glenn after the upgrade. New Glenn squashes Ares 1, and we finally have our Saturn 1B back. Our reusable Saturn 1B. Have I seen the TR3B? Yeah, I know all about that. It's actually a plane that, you know, when that's totally secret, that has nothing. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Actually, let's try this. I think I'm okay. I've been just sitting here sipping water the entire time. Here, let's try. Ready? I'm all right. I'm good. USA Aerospace crap. We don't, Savino, we don't deal with fire. Hello? Why are you not turning on? That's not good. One of my key lights is not working. Let's try that. Sometimes you just gotta spit on that thing. Come on. I swear I'm a professional at this. I swear. Hey. That sucker down a little bit. Hey. Time for the real news. Proper update. Titan's down in the house. Stephen Clark article about ULA is now able to bid Vulcan for NASA contracts. Cool. Neat. Titan is out there finding parts for the factory. Speaking of that, you guys want to go back to playing Satisfactory? I think we covered everything pretty sufficiently. I'm good. We covered enough. I must factory. I must factory. Is Flying Oyster a good name for a B-17? In case you didn't know, KSP is free via Twitch and the GOG app. Oh, neat. All NASA needs to do now is slap as many Orions on top of Nuglins and get as much data as they can. Or Vulcan, Nova, I frankly don't care. Just pick one. Just pick one. I'd choose Nuglins if it were me. Just do something for the love of... Anyway. Okay, dudes. Let's that's gonna do it for Space News. I'm just gonna bring up the title card here real quick, and I'll say we're starting soon here, and we will go back to biomass and biomass accessories. We're gonna play Satisfactory